Welcome to Confessions of a Leader. I'm Ian Pascoe, the CEO and Managing Partner of Grant Thornton. In this podcast, I sit down with some of Thailand's most accomplished leaders to explore their journeys, leadership philosophies, and the challenges shaping today's business world. My guest today is Simon Denye, Managing Director at Harmless and Treasurer and Board Governor at AMCHAM Thailand. Simon has built an impressive career leading multinational companies in food, agriculture, and manufacturing. He has spearheaded major business transformations, operational efficiency projects, and sustainability initiatives, whilst managing multi-million-dollar operations across Southeast Asia. Simon, great to have you here.
Thank you.
Tell me, you've had a really diverse career, spanning manufacturing, food, beverages, sustainability. What core leadership principles have driven and guided you through the transitions you've been through in your life?
Yeah. No, well, firstly, thank you for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure to be here. And, I count myself very lucky to have had such a diverse experience. If I'd been living in one country, one town, doing one job all my career, I think I would have completely gone crazy. So I've really enjoyed working in several different countries overseas and getting assignments with different challenges. I've had business roles, manufacturing roles, MD roles, that kind of thing. And I think, thinking about leadership, I think leadership is situation dependent. So you have to adapt. So perhaps the most important characteristic of leadership that I would promote, and maybe it's because of the journey I've been on, but being adaptable to the circumstance that you find yourself in. So managing in the UK, managing in France, managing in America, Philippines, Thailand have all been very different.
So you've been UK, France. US,
yep.
Philippines, and now Thailand.
And Thailand, correct. Yeah, that's right.
There's some fairly diverse
yes.
environments there. And in the Philippines, you were out in the jungle, basically.
Yeah, I was in Mindanao, in the far south of Mindanao, which is God's country for pineapples, but not for much else, I think I could say. We had a team of 15,000 people. We basically employed the entire local population. My job was more of a local mayor than an MD, but again, pivoting into that role was important.
Mayor Denye.
I'm not sure I like the sound of that, but maybe. So yeah, that was a very, very large organization that was... had a very, very strong leadership team, and I don't want to say ran itself, but that was all around the motivation and morale of the Philippine people was really important to bring them with you. They had to believe that the company was going to be successful because the Philippine economy is a tough one. Many companies fail, and there was a sense of desperation to hang on to their jobs. And I needed to show them, no, actually, we're a successful company, a growing company. We've got a big future ahead of us. Here's what we need to do as a team to get there. So it was inspiring confidence, getting people on board, showing them that you care about them and that you can adapt to their culture that was important in the Philippines.
And you did notice a big cultural difference when you were there?
Yes. So when I first arrived, I actually... had about 10 years in Thailand, then I moved to the Philippines for 4 years. And when I moved to the Philippines, I thought, this is completely different. Everybody speaks perfect English. This is going to be easy. Right. And then I realized once I've been there a while, actually, the English language is purely on the surface. And actually, culturally, they're far closer to Thailand than I had expected. Right. Before Thailand, I was in the US, in New Jersey. And when you hear that Filipinos were speaking with a slightly Americanized accent, because they follow a lot of American stuff. So I was sort of transported back to New Jersey and thinking about relationships with Americans. But it took me a little while to realize, no, it was Southeast Asia. There's a theme running through Southeast Asia. Importance of relationships, loss of face, how to challenge people, how not to challenge people, that I then needed to pivot back into almost a Thai mode, but albeit with good English in the Philippines.
So the differences in leading Brits,
yes,
French, Americans, Filipinos, Thais.
Yes.
What
huge differences?
Huge difference. I guess first of all, is there any similarities? Is there some human natures that doesn't matter what culture you're leading that you need to adapt? Is there anything there you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it when you said people or culture. So everybody's human, everybody's looking to a leader, everybody wants to feel valued, feel part of a team, be part of a successful organization, to be respected. So those are absolutely unique human values, and they do go right through all the organizations. Some of the differences, in England, people hate wasting their time. They're not going to work if they don't think something's going to work, they won't put any time or effort into it. In France, it's more about the dignity of the individual. You've got to respect the dignity of the individual. I remember one funny story. This is before COVID. People would shake hands every morning, right? So when you arrived at work, you started shaking hands, and every time you met someone for the first time that morning, you shook hands. If, like, by 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, you had forgotten whose hand you'd shaken at 8 o'clock in the morning, you were in big trouble. If you went up to offer your hand to shake someone at 11 o'clock, they would be offended that you hadn't remembered seeing them at 8 o'clock in the morning. So the dignity of the individual was a big deal in France.
America, is that akin to face?
The what?
Is that akin to
maybe it is. Maybe it's
the
the French version of face, right? Which is all down to dignity and self-respect. Yes. So I think there is an overlap, or a Venn diagram that overlaps quite a lot there. That's right. America, it's about results. You're only as good as your last set of results. That was my takeaway from working in New Jersey. Thailand is a very unique culture. So you have to, firstly, I did this fantastic course when I arrived called the Cross-Cultural Management Training Program. I absolutely loved it. Yeah. 2 days. Dr. Henry, I think, was the guy behind it, right? You know him. And there was a Canadian chap, Brian, forget his surname. Brian Davies was very, very good. And over those 2 days, I realized that there's quite a different set of values in Thailand compared to the Western world. So in Thailand, relationships, respect for authority, compromise, sympathy, generosity, those were the top values. In the West, we might say democracy, fairness, reward for results. We have a different set of values. I think we understand each other understands the other's values, but it's a different priority that we place on it. And so I had to sort of pivot to realizing the value and the importance of a relationship. You have to double down and invest something in the relationship to make things work as a leader in Thailand. We cannot take that for granted.
So the mayor title, coming back to that, was that so you got sort of respect?
Yes,
of those people?
Far more than I deserved, probably. I was being
I could probably relate to that. So I probably didn't deserve it, but that's okay.
I got respect on day one that I definitely did not deserve. But, I'm a people person. I love working with people. I love meeting people. I celebrate differences of people. I don't want clones. I actively look for a diverse range of people on my team. And I'm proud to have a diverse group of people on my team. And, it's important to put the effort into those relationships. Dole was such a massive operation. I mean, I say mayor because it was so huge. You cannot manage 15,000 people on your own, obviously, right?
Yes. Right.
So it's a question of projecting the right image as a statesman that people can respect and get behind. And you don't have a private life. That was the other similarity to public life, like a mayor. There was no private life down there because every weekend I had to open a new building, or I had to attend a hospital wing. We had our own hospital, we had our own school, Dole was we had our own pier, our own wharf. We did all of our own printing. We built all of our own cardboard boxes. We literally did everything because it was so isolated from the rest of the world. We needed to be as independent as we possibly could be. That's really why there were so many people, why the organization was so big. And so being the figurehead, projecting the right message, espousing the right values, being visible. I held numerous so-called town hall meetings where I would be in the gym. The gym accommodated 2,500 people.
2,500 people in the gym?
In the gym. I know, that's a lot, right?
Wow. That's a lot of sweat.
Yeah. The best story, if I can take a minute to relate a story that I absolutely love. When I arrived, we had the first briefing on safety came up, and the people from the hospital that were running the hospital reporting to me attended that briefing as well. And last year 15 people died, and I was like, you are kidding me? That I cannot believe. What, died in service? Oh no. They were employees who died outside of work for health reasons. Now bear in mind, everyone retires at 60 in the Philippines. We're talking about people still in the prime of their life, in their 50s, let's say, having heart attacks, strokes, diabetes or diabetes-related complications. This is what they were dying of. And they said, oh, but don't worry, Simon, it's outside of work, so we don't have to worry about it. And I said, you are kidding me. I cannot possibly let that. I will not be the leader of this organization and accept that somehow we turn a blind eye to people's health problems. I want a role in helping people's health. What can we do? And they just laughed. They said, Simon, there's nothing you can do. People, they love the lechon, which is this pork skin crackling.
Right.
They love everything that's unhealthy.
I think I'd like it too.
Yeah. They love their sugary foods, their fatty foods. I said, Simon, it's hopeless. They won't change. This is part of the Filipino culture. You'll never change it. Well, the funny thing was, within a day or two, we were having a conversation about pay, salaries, salary grades, salary levels, the local market, minimum wage. And, I was saying, well, why do we pay the minimum wage? I'd like to pay more than the minimum wage. I don't want to be the company that just pays the minimum wage. They said, oh, if you raise the salary 5 pesos, you'll be a hero. I said, 5 pesos is nothing. Why? What do you mean be a hero? And then I connected the two and said, right, you think we can't get people to change, but you're telling me money is really important in this culture. What if we pay people to achieve health targets? And there was just a stunned silence in the room of directors. They could not believe these words were coming out of my mouth. They even had to get their heads around the idea that you pay people for their health. And I seized the opportunity and I said, without even thinking, without any permission from head office, I just jumped and I said, right, I'm going to offer 1 week's bonus, extra bonus each year to people who hit their health targets. Now, we had our own hospital and we did annual health checkups for everybody. So we had the data, we had the means to do the testing. And we set cholesterol level, blood sugar level, hip to waist ratio, body mass index, just a couple of the basic, I think there were 5 measures.
Well, I wasn't working.
And what we said is you have to hit 4 out of the 5 and then you get your extra week's bonus.
Right.
Well, about a year later, and we'd announced this, we'd put posters up, we were encouraging people, we changed the diet in the canteen and all this good stuff. And a year later, I stood in front of 2,500 people and I said, I have in front of me here 45 envelopes. And I'm going to ask each person to come out individually on your own and receive this envelope with your extra week's pay for your bonus for achieving your health target. And I want to say I'm really proud of the people that have achieved this target, but I'm really sad for the people who did not achieve it.
So it was 45 out of 15,000?
Well, it was 40. Out of that group was 2,500 and it was done quarter by quarter. So there were probably 500 people that would have been eligible and only 45 out of 500, to put it in perspective, to answer your question about what proportion that was. Yes. So a very, very low proportion. Well, you could have heard a pin drop. When I said I was handing out money for people hitting their health targets, again, this is now shop floor people, again, could not believe it, just like the directors a year earlier. So I called a name, person came up, gave the envelope. And then at the end, there was a murmur and a sort of furore taking place. And people were saying they wanted to be retested. They wanted to go back to the hospital and get tested again to try and get there. And then we had to agree what was the frequency you could be retested at. And we agreed, I think you could go back after 6 months and get half the bonus, something like that. But the other thing was then people started saying, oh, I want to cycle to work, but I can't afford a bicycle. Can the company give me an advance on my salary to allow me to buy a bicycle and I'll pay you back out of the next few months' salary? We said yes, and we set that up to allow people to have the money to buy a bicycle. And we 1,500 bicycles were bought over the next couple of months. The local bicycle shop must have had a field day. But people then were excited about this. And I think excited about both the opportunity to make another week's bonus, but actually the fact that their health was taken seriously by management was a big deal as well. And there's, if you give me one more minute to get a lovely little adjunct to that story. We had a very militant union, a militant group that had lost the union election, and they wanted to re-win the next election that was coming up. And they went to a local radio DJ who was very, very popular, very known to be very pro-Labour. And they said, "Come on," his name was B-Boy. They said, "Come on, B-Boy, we've got to take on these managers at Dole. You know, these guys making money off the rods of our, our backs." and it's time we take them on. We need to hold these people. And the DJ said, "Are they that bad? Do you really think those managers are that bad? Have you heard they've got this health program?" Well, of course, these union people were furious that the rug had been pulled out from under their feet, that managers actually did care about people's health and were willing to put their money where their mouth was with a reward for investing in people's health. So that's, I think, my proudest leadership moment in my entire career was pushing that through.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
so that is amazing. I guess because one of the things you did touch on is change.
Yeah,
and there's a wonderful book, Immunity to Change, and actually getting people in an organisation to change. It starts off saying that when people's lives depend on it, when someone's told that unless they change a particular health behaviour, smoking or whatever, they'll die within 6 months.
Yes,
90% of people don't change.
Yeah.
So if they're not going to change when their very life depends on it, how do you make them change in a day-to-day organisation, in a business?
Well, the psychologists tell us there are 3 elements that all need to be in place for a change to take place. So the first one is discontent with the present. People will not change unless they're discontent with the present. The next is that they have to have a vision of where the future is. So is that a future that they want? That's the second point, and they have to have that as well. And then the third point is the first steps on the change need to be easy. And the psychologists tell us if you can meet all 3 of those criteria, then people will change, or at least you have a chance of getting people to change. And when I said that I was sorry for the people who were not in the 45 that were getting their bonus, I said, you have to seriously think whether you're going to see your grandchildren or not, because we have too many people dying from health issues. And that Filipinos are really, like Thais, very close to family. They really feel bonded with family. Family is so important to them. And the idea that your own health health failings may deprive you of the opportunity to see your grandchildren actually was a huge deal. So to cover those 3 things, the first, discontent with the future. Well, you're not getting your week's bonus that you want, so those people were desperate to get a week's bonus, so they had a very strong hit the pocket. Will you see your grandchildren or not in the future? If you're healthy, you will. That gave them the vision of the future. And then the easy steps, well, we bought the bicycles, we refurbished the gym, we changed the food in the canteen. And more importantly, I think it became part of the conversation. And then I personally would I would enter a race or do a triathlon or a
Well, I was going to get to being Mr. Spartan. I was leaving that for a while because I know that you are well known in this market as Mr. Spartan.
There you go.
Is that how you pronounce it, or is it sort of from the movie Spartan?
I'm not sure where. Yeah, I think I think it predates the movie. I think it comes from.
It does.
Yeah, it does. Right. Yeah. The 300 and Thermopylae and all that. But I think that just setting the example of doing some running, doing some cycling, and just being out there, people would see me cycling around the pineapple fields and stuff like that. They all thought it was a bit crazy to start with, but then it all came together. It was all part of a picture. Health's important, and health's worth protecting, and I felt really good about that.
You've had some health scares yourself in your life, I recall.
Yeah, so I got glandular fever or mono as a kid, and that's has a post-viral effect, a bit like long COVID, and that troubles me from time to time. And then right now I've got Achilles heel strains. Of course, I think that's just age-related, and other things that might stop me doing more exercise, but I'm committed to doing it. So I think sometimes you have to play through.
And we will come back to Spartan. So the changes that you drove in that health, what other changes are you seeing now? If we look at the current world and your current organisation, Harmless Harvest, what sort of changes do you think are going to be necessary in this world we are in now?
Yeah, I think what I'm saying, we have to adapt to Gen Z. We have to adapt to post-COVID. We have to adapt to.
I thought you were British. Where's Z come from?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I've worked for American companies for 25 years now, so I think I'm a little bit. Thank you for that reminder. Generation Z. Let me say that for the record now.
Thank
you. So we do have to adapt. I mean, I might be 59, but I'm smart to the fact that the next generations are coming through and they're going to do things differently. And I'm never going to say I'm right and they're wrong. In fact, quite the opposite. I think people come for their time, right? Cometh the hour, cometh the man is the expression, right? So I think that the generations coming through in their 20s and 30s now, they're going to be the future leaders of companies, and the way they do things, the values they have, the way they work, is going to be the reality of the future. And there's no point railing against that. I mean, I'd love to get everybody back in the office 5 days a week, but we've got a policy of 4 days a week, so people have some flexibility to work from home, just as an example.
Yeah.
And also, accommodating the Gen Zs that are very much looking for career development and asking the question, what can the company do for me? That wasn't a question I asked when I was 22 and starting work. We didn't think like that. It was the John F. Kennedy thing, right? What can your country do for you, and so on. So we have to adapt to that. But I think the leadership message that I would say to anybody is the people are the most important factor. I know perhaps that sounds really obvious, but it's so true. You have to take time to get to know people. You have to know what motivates people. And you have to be prepared to make sure that you have the right people on the bus. And sometimes you have to take a tough decision. And I've had competent people who, after a while, I felt they are not fitting in with this organization. I need to make a change. And I've had to make some tough changes. And I can tell you now, this organization in Thailand, Harmless Harvest, the world's best coconut water, as I plug every time, is fantastic. Pink. It's pink. It's pink because it's naturally pink.
Everyone I see with Harmless Harvest coconut looks at me and go,
why is it pink?
And there's something wrong with that coconut juice. It's pink.
Pink because we are the only company in the world that does not heat treat. The standard beverage treatment sterilization process is UHT, heat treatment, right? Yes. You heat it, the bacteria dies, it's safe. We don't. We filter out the bacteria in a microfiltration process, proprietary microfiltration process. So we take the world's best coconut. We are the only people in the world doing microfiltration on coconut water, so we have a unique advantage there. And it produces a product where all of the nutrients, especially the enzymes and the antioxidants, are still intact, and they turn naturally pink over time. That's why it's pink.
There you go. I'm not giving you poisonous coconut water to all those people that don't like it when I give them your water. No, it is good. It's a wonderful product. You even have the carbonated one.
We do. We have a sparkling
version. I get
told
that must be off. It's pink and it's fizzy, so it's really off. That's actually really good.
No, it's fantastic. I'm really proud to work for Harmless Harvest, and I'm really proud of what we've achieved. I hired a new HR director 3 years ago, and she has been outstanding. Kunnacha, her name is, and for the last 2 years, we have won the Thai government Happy Workplace Award. This is a workplace award where you get recognized for 8 different aspects of your...
Yeah, this is quite amazing. I was starting to think that there was something wrong with me.
I thought, am I having a stroke or something?
Pause for a second here. This is unusual.
Should we go downstairs, do you think? Or... No?
Okay, this apparently is pretty serious. I think we should...
Should we go downstairs?
I don't think you can.
Should we go downstairs?
What the hell?
What floor are we on?
25.
Well, Simon, I've talked to a lot of people in different situations. The first time I've been in the middle of talking to someone thinking I'm having a stroke that turns into an earthquake. So yes, we were just in an earthquake, but we think everything's all right now. So let's just continue.
The earth really did move.
The things we you do. You've always made the earth move for me, Simon. But the things we do, the conditions we go through.
Good.
Right. So you're going through the change.
Yeah.
You're going through people's behaviours. So Thailand, Philippines, both obviously similarities, but where's the difference? And obviously you've led some big organisations in both.
Yes, yeah, that's right. I ran Dole in both before coming to Harmless Harvest. So the Philippines, of course, is economically less developed than Thailand. Thailand is actually really very economically developed and has many sort of first world type characteristics around Thailand. The Philippines, it kind of felt like living on the set of Jurassic Park. We were out in the middle of nowhere, and a lot of it was very undeveloped. I mean, we had our pineapple fields and the pineapples grow so well there. But the rest of it really could have been 65 million years ago with dinosaurs roaming around. So there was something about the remoteness the poverty level in the Philippines, the lack of economic development, the anxiety around the job. Your job was your life. If you lost that job, you lost your life. It was all over. Thailand, people hop jobs all the time. The economies, I know we always want it to be better, but it's really not that bad, in my opinion. The Thai economy does reasonably well. People are hardworking, not a huge amount of unionization. The Philippines is very, very unionized, very left-wing, really communist mindset in many cases. Whereas Thailand is much more, no, you deserve what you get. You work as hard as you can, and that's good. You give back. So I think I'm not surprised that businesses can flourish better in Thailand than they can at the moment in the Philippines. That's the way I would look at it. And I'm sure the Philippines will change. I know that they're going through its upheaval, but they will change and improve.
They're going through. Unfortunately for Thailand, Thailand's got the most anemic growth of any of the Asian countries. Philippines,
yes,
particularly in more recent years, has been growing a lot. But Thailand in 2025,
yes,
what would be, I guess, the biggest challenges we're facing here, and what sort of improvements could people be making?
Thailand has a reputation for being relatively easy, an easy place to do business, and I think that is relatively well earned. However, I would say that the government bureaucracy, or let's say the web of laws in Thailand that govern businesses in Thailand is really difficult and obscure. And through AMCHAM, I've been working with the team to present, Five to Thrive and our other programs to the government to give the government some advice on how to make Thailand more attractive as a place to invest. And these, by definition, that means it will also help the economy as well. And I think it's around creating level playing fields, more transparency with government. People need to know what the rules are and what they are not. Like, if you're a visitor coming in for one day, do you need a work permit or not? Technically you do, but nobody gets work permits when they come to Thailand. That never happens. But that's an example. And I'm sure people in government would say, well, it's only a small issue and we never enforce it, so don't worry about it. But actually, people need to know that. They want to know. They want to be able to come to Thailand and not have to worry about whether they've got a work permit or not, or whether they're complying with the law or not. So I think it's really, really important that Thailand tries to create transparency in terms of its regulatory framework. The regulations in Thailand are very professional. I mean, a lot of it's cut and pasted from other countries. I think they've got great laws on the statute books, but they need to simplify, rationalize, and make it more pro-business, I believe.
Tell you where one main one they've got to go after is the revenue department.
Right.
Revenue department. I always say businesses don't like paying tax.
Right.
They accept that that's part of being business.
Right.
Doing business, you pay tax.
Right.
But it's the lack of certainty here that is horrendous.
Yes.
And I don't know if you've seen recently, there's a major push to the revenue department officers' incentives to get more money.
Yeah,
which means there's no certainty around your VAT refunds or returns. I mean, we've never had certainty around withholding tax refunds,
right?
And that, I think, is a major impediment to business here because people need certainty.
Yes, that's it. I think that's exactly right. People need certainty. We need to know what environment we're operating in, and then we'll do our best. We need a level playing field as well, right? So Thai companies should be treated, foreign companies should be treated the same way as Thai companies. I think, as far as possible, would be healthy as well. So, and I think with that, and I'm actually quite optimistic about the Thai economy for the future. I think it's kind of in a way, I feel that the Thai economy is an engine that's ready to drive forward. The brakes are holding the engine back, but it's ready to go forward. We've got great resources, hardworking people, education's improving, people are aspirational, want to do well. It's free, it's easy to move around, it's easy to do business. I feel that Thailand has so many good things going for it. But this issue around transparency and the revenue department is just one very good example, and certainty, as you say, in what rules apply, don't apply, what the operating framework is, what the operating environment is. I totally agree.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about some of the things in play. I think one of the challenges that Thailand's got comes from, I guess, history, is this. There's almost more of an entitlement here, certainly compared to when you go to places like Vietnam.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Everything was handed to this place.
Yes.
If you look at the 60s, 70s, everything was given to them.
Yeah. And
I think, and this is, I'm not coming out to be disparaging of Thailand. Obviously, I've lived here for a long time, and I've been very successful here and got some great people working with me. But there is this general feeling that, of more entitlement compared to running businesses in places like Vietnam, where people didn't, frankly, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, were the opposite of growing up entitled.
No, that's right. And I think that entitlement comes from the Pinong, as they call it, this respect for seniority, older brother, younger brother, wealthy, unwealthy. Rich people have an entitlement, poor people have to look after them, but then rich people have to look after the poor people. That is actually very structural in the culture of Thailand, isn't it? So it's to be expected, I think, that entitlement comes along and is part of it. And I think there's good and bad to that in some ways. I think the good is that people, the Nong, the younger brother in the relationship, is going to work hard and contribute to business and do a good job. But it has to be reciprocated. They have to be given, proper reward and recognition. And I think in particular, the minimum wage in Thailand, my personal opinion is it's too low. As an employer, you might not expect me to say that, but I think, $10 a day is not enough for people that work as hard as they do in a relatively developed economy. It's not like, Philippines or Africa. It's a relatively developed economy. And I think if you paid those people more, they would spend more. I foresee that for the good of the economy, keep getting that minimum wage up a little bit higher would be a good thing. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah, it is, but it is got to be the same. You've got to compete in the market you're in, and it's like
true.
Simon, I notice we seem to be shaking a little bit again. I think we're going back into another earthquake.
It feels like it.
Well, right? Certainly an aftershock. So we'll bring this to a bit of a conclusion. Just to finish, if you had to think of one leader that really has inspired you, whether within your work, world leader, me, joking, who? Is there a name that comes to mind?
There is, and this may not be a popular name, but I'm going to say it anyway, and that would be Margaret Thatcher. I think Margaret Thatcher stepped in when England, or the United Kingdom, was in a terrible, terrible financial situation. We were the lame man or the lame dog or whatever of Europe at the time, and we were totally beholden to unions, and the economy would completely stagnate. I think it's where the expression stagflation came from. Yes. It was so bad. It was just dreadful. And she stepped in as the Iron Lady, and she endured a lot of abuse, but she knew she was doing the right thing. And she reestablished values for the country where hard work would be rewarded, business success would be celebrated, tax rates would be fair. Unions were still obviously allowed to thrive and flourish, but had their wings clipped, so that they couldn't be as obstructive. They still have the right to strike and all of that, but they couldn't be as obstructive to the economy. And I really admire someone who took that position and turned the country around. And that's in my mind, it's a good example of a leader. We say, how important is leadership? Can one person really change? That one person changed the entire course of the United Kingdom. I think deserves a lot of credit for it.
I think you're right. I think someone like that, she would be appreciated in a number of countries around at the moment, if you look at the world.
Yeah.
Simon, Mr. Spartan, fantastic to have you here. It's been a pleasure. Simon, thank you for sharing your journey and insights with us today. Your experience leading global businesses, transforming operations and driving sustainable growth is highly valuable. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Confessions of a Leader. Stay with us for more conversations with Thailand's top leaders. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep leading.